Okay, so I'm half Japanese and I'm also half American. So I said, no, I lived in Japan my entire life. That is a really bad introduction. That is horrible. I'm gonna try that again. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. See, guys, I never told you this, but I'm actually a halfling bitch. Right? I'm a halfling bitch. So I'm gonna quickly talk about, what it's like being half and that kind of stuff. So I'm half Japanese, I'm half American. I lived in Japan my entire life. That means I was in a Japanese public school for elementary and a little bit of middle school. So I'm gonna quickly talk about, what it's like and that kind of stuff. I think I already said that. In elementary school, because I was the odd one out, they would always ask me, "Hey, can you speak English? Hey, can you speak English? Say something, say something." So I'm like, "Oh sure, I'll say something." Apple. I always said apple for some reason. Like when they say, "Oh, say anything," I'm like, "Apple." That's all I say. They're all like, they're like, "Oh my gosh, foreigner." Oh, I'm not a foreigner. I was born and raised here, jackass. But it is what it is, right? They're kids, right? And then one of the biggest things I hated was English class in public schools. See, public schools in Japan are super weird with hiring. They either hired this random Spanish people who can barely speak English, or their pronunciation is really bad, or these African guys who their accents are a little interesting, but they can teach. I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why. But in early elementary school, we had this English teacher. I think she was half Spanish, or not half, but like she was Spanish, right? She was from Spain or something, and her English, she could speak English, but her pronunciation was diabolical. I can't even I want to recreate it, but I can't. It's just that bad. So her pronunciation was so bad that everyone for 3 years spoke like how she spoke. And I'm like, dude, come on, Noah, shut up. It's like, what the? I don't get it. Like, I do get it, but it's like, oh, come on. Why did, I don't know how she got hired. I genuinely do not know. And another thing is, because it's elementary school, they would sing songs like about the weeks of the day, sing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Thursday, Friday, or about the month, all right? And what you ate for breakfast, and they would sing songs like that, right? Of course, it was cringy, and at the time, I don't think anyone in Japan, I don't think they know the concept of cringe, the word cringe. So I'm like the only one there, like, dude, this is so cringe. I'm not doing this. So I never sang an entire, I never did anything. And then one day I was walking. This was like after lunch. I was walking around. I was like with my friends, walking around the school, talking. And then I hear this song that I've heard in my life. A song that everybody has heard. A song that everybody hates. A song that one makes you want to kill yourself. It's called Baby Shark. And I'm like, oh my god. And I see people in there with the teacher dancing along with Baby Shark. I'm like, if they play this in class, I'll be so pissed. And guess what? The next day, they end up playing Baby Shark and everyone's singing along. I'm like, dude. And then the next year, she was gone. Okay, I mean, not dead. She didn't die. She was just like, I don't know if she got fired or not, but she wasn't the English teacher anymore. I'm like, thank God. And with this other teacher come in, and her English was so good. Apparently, she studied in America or Canada. I forgot which country. Perfect English, amazing. She was fully Japanese too. So and then she fixed her own pronunciations. That took a long time. Yeah, yeah, that was English classes. What a nightmare they were. Another thing I didn't like is history class. The thing is, they talk about how bad the bombings were. Like, oh, they bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and America did this and that, and like, it was so terrible, it's so sad, and they kept blaming America, right? They're like, oh, this happened, oh, it was so messed up, but we got peace. They never, ever, ever talked about what Japan did at all. That was a real shocker. I thought Japan was supposed to be this, like, perfect country with perfect education, you know? Oh, well, I guess you guys are wrong, huh? People who glaze Japan. They never talked about what Japan did, and not even a sliver. So every time they talk about the bombing, you got like a lot of the class just looking at me like I did something wrong. Okay, sure, one of my relatives did know the guy who dropped the bomb. That doesn't matter. Like, they looked at me like I was the one who did it. And like at the time I was like my dad taught me about all history stuff, right? So I'm like, dude, y'all can't be serious, right? Y'all, you know what y'all did too? They're like, no, we didn't do anything. We just bombed us for no reason. It just, I hope it was rage bait because that would really piss me off. And there were two bullies, right? They're assholes, and they're like, oh my gosh, you bombed Japan. How dare you? And I'm like, dude, you know what Japan did? And I told them everything about Japan. What Japan did. They're like, you're just lying. And I'm like, look it up. And they're like, no, no, because school never lies. I'm like, okay, I'm like, okay, I see who. Okay, see from there I was like, yeah, yeah, okay, bro, okay, bro. But one thing is like, everyone didn't treat me like that. Even though I was born in Japan, they treated me that way. I was really surprised. But not everyone treated me like that. I had a very few friends who saw me as an actual person, not just some American guy who, according to them, I dropped the bomb, right? Their name was Rito, Ray, and Tommy. Those are all nicknames. Of course, I had two other friends, Rin and Tamaki, but those are females. We don't talk about them right now. That's a story for another day because there's a lot of history there. But I barely had any friends. So yeah. So those are my main friends during public school. And we would play Fortnite. We would play a bunch of games together. I mean, it was peak times, bro. It was peak. So in the beginning of the elementary school, I had this friend called Yuto. Later on, we were really good friends in first and second grade. But later on, we got split apart into different classrooms, and we are still friends to this day. It's just like it's hard to talk with each other because he's really busy with school, but we're still friends. And I'm friends with other guys too. It just we got yeah. But those friends made me kind of what is it? Make it bearable at least. Also, Yuto, I bonded with him with Geometry Dash and Geometry Dash in Minecraft. That is the most unexpected things, but I'm being genuinely serious. And because I know that they can't see Geometry Dash, I call it Lucky Block. And his favorite level was Can't Let Go. That was just something I really remember. Yeah, but elementary school, I hated it, but it sucked, but it wasn't hell, which is what I thought. Eventually, hell came. Middle school. By the way, not to mention, I forgot to mention this. Education was really hard at this point because I don't know what it was. I might have been an ADHD. I wasn't very good at education in Japanese. Of course, I had this teacher where she kind of deals with kind of half people, like half like people who are half and have trouble with the Japanese language, right? She was I at the time I didn't like her as a teacher. Now I think about it, she was one of the best teachers in my life. And without her, I wouldn't be where I am. She is the best teacher of all time. I'll eventually talk about her in a later video because there's that's a lot to say. And then so middle school came. It was like 3 times bigger than my elementary school. So everything you got like I think there was like almost like 500 students there, maybe more. So the first week, right? I was the most popular. I was the most popular because there wasn't any other half people in the school. And the thing is, with middle school, you got all these elementary schools scattered around my prefecture, right? And then they all meet in one middle school. So there's like 5 different classes, and I'll eventually explain what the classes work in Japan. But they're all like like all these classes just merged together. And so the first week I was incredibly popular. After that, the only friends I had were the ones I talked previously. Of course, I made a few new friends. I met a guy who played Terraria, which was a huge shocker because Terraria is not really popular here. It was really cool. I liked them. And then the friends I talked previously, around the transition between middle school and middle school and elementary school, my Marvel thing started. More my Marvel phase, my Marvel addiction thing started, right? And then my friend Tommy, right? He's kind of a clone on me in a way. He likes music, he likes movies, he likes games. And he told me, "Hey, watch this movie." He was kind of my guide. My dad and him were my guide to all this Marvel stuff. And so when the and that was around and in middle school. That was around the time when all these Marvel movies were coming out, like Thor: Love and Thunder, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. There was a new movie like once every 3 months, dude. It was crazy. At the time, I didn't understand the concept of a bad movie, so I'm like, when I watched Thor: Love and Thunder, I'm like, okay, this is the best movie of all time. This is amazing. I take it back. I take every bit of that back. It was horrid. I mean, it was okay. Visually, it was amazing, but horrid, man, horrid. And so there's this one. So and then we also saw No Way Home together. That was the experience. I actually invited like a ton of people. I think 10 people to go watch No Way Home. That was the experience. I remember when we all were like, "Oh my God, that's Spider-Man." Oh, that was a really fun experience. And then in Japan, right, movie promotions go are kind of crazy. So convenience stores, right? There's Family Mart. This Family Mart had this little thing where you pay $5 and you get like a random piece of Spider-Man merch. It could be stickers, shirts, files, posters, or anything. But there was like one big one. It was a figure. You can get a figure. And so I spent a bunch of money. I didn't get the figure, but my friend did. And we're like, okay, it was like the last day of the event. So I'm like, okay, let's go to the Family Mart and let's go, do it one last time and see what we can get. So I got a few posters. Actually, I mainly got posters and stickers, but I didn't mind posters. I like posters. So we went to our usual Family Mart and they sold out. I'm like, ah, oh, damn. Okay, let's go home, guys. They're like, nah. There's another Family Mart. I'm like, okay, where? 3 hours away by walk. So I'm like, you sure you want to do this? What if they don't even have it? And we're like, I don't care, let's go. So I'm like, okay, man, sure, whatever you say. So we walked for 4 hours, actually 3 hours and 30 minutes around, but still, we walked for a long, long, long time. Of course, look back, it was really fun. I think it was kind of fun. Fun and kind of cool, it was really nice. So we traveled far, long, and we got to the Family Mart. And guess what? They didn't have it. And we're all kind of met with disappointment, but it's like we weren't super disappointed. We're like, okay, let's go home. So we bought some food, and we walked home. It was a really interesting day. That's one of my best memories with them. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, back to middle school. The treatment was just kind of the same, but this time everyone just didn't talk to me. So yeah, after the first year, I wasn't doing well in school because it's Japanese was really hard. I just couldn't, right? So after the first year, I'm like, my mom was like, "Hey, you want to go to international school where you can use your English?" I'm like, "Sure." And so went to this international school and I enrolled. I got in, and before I talk about that bit, my Japanese was downright horrendous at the time. Like it was really bad. I mean English. My English was I could speak. I could speak, but grammar was off. My vocabulary was not that good. It was very choppy. And the only way I learned my English was from fucking YouTube. Even when I was a kid, I started speaking it because my parents were speaking it around me, and then I watched a bunch of Dan TDM. I'm not kidding. That is a real story. And so I was I got the tour to go to the international school, right? And then five and I had 5 months to kind of get my English better, and I did. Actually, improve. I massively improved, and eventually I joined the school, and I met the people who I was meant to meet. I met this guy called Mao. He was fully Japanese, but his English was good enough for us to kind of be friends. Then I met this guy called Hiro, and us three, we were the best of friends in the beginning. But we still are. Just like classes are separated now. It's kind of hard to talk to each other now, but all of us, we were called the Stair Boys. We would hang out outside the stairs. It was amazing. And because of that international school, I gained a crazy ton of confidence. I was originally an introvert. Now I'm an extrovert. I don't know what it is. My theory is that whatever it is, I'm more confident in English. My Japanese skill is just not there, and I'm more confident in English. That's my guess. So now in school, I'm doing a lot better than I was before, but my ADHD still really holds me back. But I'll make another part of this. Think of this as kind of a prequel to what's about to come. I'm going to talk about more of my school I'm going to right now, all my other friends, and that kind of stuff. I'll talk more about my other old friends from elementary school, middle school, but just kind of like an overall what it was like kind of thing. So yeah,